Hi guys, welcome to Travel is My Lifestyle about me, your professional tourist. And today we're going to talk about random episode about me living in New York because that was a time. And I've been trying to get to New York ever since I left. The only reason I'm not is because I met my husband. And honestly, being broke in New York alone was great, but being broke in New York with two people, that's not going to cut it for me. So we ain't moving back. Getting used to this. I'm still thinking about the structure. I'm still trying to decide how I want to do it. But I think we're doing a pretty good job going on the confident traveler because that is exactly what I want to help people do. My time in New York was amazing. It taught me a lot. It made me be the person I am today. And it leads me to talking about building confidence. I left New York feeling so confident, and it's just amazing what it did for me. Today we're on location. If you've noticed, I'm not on my beanbag chair. Today I'm in Boston. That is exactly why I wanted to do this simple kind of like guerrilla kind of podcasting. I just want to be able to do a podcast whenever I feel like it, whenever the creativity hits me. That's what we're going to do today. Did you know I used to live in New York? Yeah, I lived in New York for almost a year. And it was the most rewarding, exciting, terrifying time of failing in my life. And I know that sounds really weird, but it goes based off of what we just had with my guest host, Kayla, about just the nomadic spirit. And sometimes the nomadic spirit is not really in you. Sometimes forces of nature bring out that nomadic spirit, whether it's you moving because you got a job, moving because you're in a relationship, moving because, family things happen. And unfortunately, things cause us to have to move close to the family when they're sick or trauma. You're just trying to run away. Or you're just a traveler that we see on the internet all the time now decide to quit their job and become a traveler. You have that nomadic spirit in you, but sometimes it is forced upon you. For me, the nomadic spirit's always been there. I actually flipped a coin, and one of them was going to be New York, and the other one was going to be Miami. So New York won, and I'm happy it did. When I moved to New York, I thought I had community and security. It was false. It was, Bree, you don't know shit about shit, so let's just keep it going. At a family reunion, I found a cousin who was like, oh, well, I live in New York, and I help you out if you ever decide to move. So when I moved, I thought I had community. Slowly started moving my stuff up there throughout the month before to at least have a base. I had maybe 4 duffel bags. And for all intents and purposes, I was supposed to be living with him. And then when I landed, I was told, you no longer can live with me, but I have a house that you can stay at. Does anybody remember the show Hey Arnold? If you remember the episode with the guy who no one ever saw him and set traps so they could see what he looked like and stuff like that. That was exactly what I was living in, okay? It was in Brooklyn. I don't remember the area at the time because by then I was just being pulled around places. And it was like in a boarding house style with this lady named McFadden. She had all these rules. I couldn't bring anybody over. I couldn't have company. She was gone a lot. And there were men who lived there. I wasn't allowed to lock my door. I wasn't allowed to, it was a lot. And I was just like, what? And then I asked him, do you know any of the people who live in this place? And he was like, no. So everything in me told me to run. And so I did. Was basically homeless for almost a week. I had a friend up there that was like, you should move here. When you move here, we'll be good. Da, 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 da. And after I told her I was homeless, she didn't help. Um, she was no help at all. She took me to go get some Mexican food, but that was it. Gosh, it sounds sad. So anyway, that happened. Just working and living out of the airport. And then I found this thing on Facebook that was people looking for roommates. And so the living situation they had going on was just not beneficial to me. I was going to be paying a lot of money to live in a tiny room, not even in the city. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Me being from Texas, I wasn't used to downsizing that much. And if I was going to downsize that much, it had to have perks. I remember that night, the person that was helping me out was like, girl, I got you. Like, I'm going to help you out. And that was really sweet of them. They didn't have to do that. And they took me out and I drank my life away, crying and drinking, crying and drinking. I actually won a twerk contest that night. I might try to post a picture over here if I can find it. But I felt like I was at rock bottom, working and looking for a place to live. And then it just so happened that one of my classmates reached out to me and was like, girl, been there, done that. I was homeless when I got here. You can come stay with me. I'm staying with my boyfriend right now, and you can just stay at my place until you figure something out. That was like God, nothing but God. And she is an angel for letting me do that. I don't ever know if she ever knew how much that meant to me because we didn't really talk after that. She literally just popped into my life and then dropped off in a good way. Not like I felt abandoned or anything. Her apartment was on the Upper West Side in Manhattan, off of the Hudson, beautiful area. And I was thinking of a 4-bedroom apartment with 3 other strangers. We had to walk up to the third. No, no, it had an elevator, but the elevator sucked. So basically, we had to walk up. It was just faded. It ended up being perfect for me. What I will say about New York, like anyone tells you, it's expensive. Okay. And this is back in like 2017, 2016. I can't remember exactly when I was there. Crap, I'm getting old. When I moved there, it was just temporary, right? But then I started loving it. And then the person that was living there moved out. So they had a vacancy. And it was what they called the beginner room. Okay. The beginner room, think of like a college dorm, but smaller. It was like rectangle shaped. It had a closet that was probably, I mean, no size as a width of like a window, but it was really deep. New York usually doesn't use ceiling fans, so I had a window unit. That was new for me. I opened up my window to get a better look, not knowing that window units fall out when you open the window. Broke it the first day. Had to go get another one. Luckily, no one died. It was original hardwood floors. Now, New York is old. Original hardwood floors are really, really thick. They look like they're rotting in some places, and there are holes. Holes that I swore that rats were going to come out, but it didn't happen. I had a really nice big living room, had a really nice kitchen. They don't really have dishwashers in New York, so that was something that was different. Learning to go downstairs for my laundry, that was something different because even when I was in college, I had my own laundry. Yeah, I was spoiled. I had my own laundry room. Came with a bed, which was great. Hard ass bed, so I had to go buy a mattress offer. That was it. But I had somewhere to stay. I had like the basis of like security and safety. I had somewhere to lay my head. I think I ended up moving in within like 3 weeks. I was homeless for a week. Had a place to like shift around for like for the next 2 weeks while I stayed at her place, and then I started paying rent for that glorious, glorious room in that glorious, glorious situation. I was paying $839. I was paying $839 for a shack of a room, sharing one bathroom with 3 other people, one of them being a man. But I was in Manhattan. I was in Upper West Side. I was in shape back then, so I was running like 2 miles a day. Running 2 miles up and down that Hudson River was beautiful every day. So I remember something that I did. We did not have a doorman. Everyone else around us did, though. First couple of days on my way to work, I had a giant box of donuts. And I would just go up and down the street. And I was like, hi, my name is Bree. I live down there. I just wanted to say hello. And I gave them a donut. I also have this really great Texas necklace that I loved. It was the outline of Texas. It was gold. It was very simple. You see them too small, or sometimes you see them too big. It was perfect. I used to wear it faithfully, like everywhere I went. And I think that really helped me out in New York because they would see it and they would be like, "Aw," and they would just be nice to me. Everyone was so nice in New York to me. But anyway, I would give them a donut, and I was like, "Hey, it would be nice that if I'm coming home from work sometimes at night, or you see me in the daytime, you could pass a word around and like, just look out for me." And I did that for like a week so I can get to know the doorman up and down the street, and they did. I would walk home from work late at night, early in the morning, and they would wave at me and they would look while I was walking out. I had protection. So that was something that I did. I was building a community that way. My roommates were cool, but I mean, in New York, what I learned is that people really work in New York. Like having to get on the train or a taxi to get to work and then get back during that rush hour traffic, it's a lot. So a 9 to 5 for all of my roommates was more like a 7 to 7, if that. I lived with a couple of waitresses. I lived with someone who worked at the UN. I lived with there was a guy who worked at a hotel. I can't remember the name of it. I know it's the hotel that they say Jay-Z and Beyonce stay in when they're in town or they want to do something. Because while I was there, Beyonce stayed there, and that was a whole thing. A lot of times they weren't even there. We'd eat dinner sometimes. Sometimes I would cook. Sometimes they would cook. But it really wasn't like, hey, Rumi, let's sit on the couch. It wasn't like a friends atmosphere. It wasn't like a living single atmosphere. It was very much so Bree against the world. So again, I moved there. I don't have the community of my cousin that I thought I did. I don't have the community of my friend that I thought I did. So I'm doing everything by myself. Hence why I call myself a solo traveler, but not all the way. I'm always traveling and exploring by myself. I went to New York to start exploring the world more, and that is where I learned all my international traveling tricks. But I really was a horrible tourist back then. I'm getting better at it. But I'm not a person who wants to go to museums. I'm not a person who wants to see all the statues. I'm not a person who wants to just live in the past, live in history. I know that's weird. I want to live in the now. I want to see what everyone's doing now. Okay, this is pre-COVID. There used to be this place called, I want to call it Gloria's or Garcia's, that was around the corner from my apartment. They had really good sangria and food. I like the bodega on the corner. There was a Whole Foods that I finally found that was like almost like 2 blocks away. That was great. I liked Red Rooster. Red Rooster had a speakeasy at the time, and so that was nice to go to at night. I want to call it Corner Social. So Harlem was down the street. I lived on 101 in West End, and Harlem was like started like 110, I think. So it was like 9 or 10 blocks down the street. I lived right over there by Columbia University. There was a really nice like 3-story thing that had a rooftop bar. And that was when I learned how expensive alcohol was in New York. I just went to Pensacola that weekend and got really messed up on some really strong, great margaritas, $3 a piece. And I went there to celebrate me moving in with. The liquor was not liquoring. There was nothing in there, and it was $13 for some watered down juice. Y'all, New York is expensive. From where I was on the bus, Brooklyn, it took about 45 minutes to get there. I love the Brooklyn Bridge Park. I never ever crossed the entire Brooklyn Bridge. Yeah, I didn't do that. I used to just lay in the park with a notepad, with a book, with some music, and just people watch hot dogs. So there used to be like this stand. I don't know if it's still there. They had the really good hot dogs, and I used to go there and just chill in Brooklyn. That's what I did. I wasn't really big on mapping where I went back then or taking a lot of pictures. And so I used to just go to Brooklyn and just hang out and just chill, and it was really nice. They don't have any Walmarts in the area. That was when I discovered Trader Joe's. Everyone was like, go to Trader Joe's, go to Trader Joe's. Y'all, fucking hated Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's was so nasty back in 2016, 2017. And I don't know what it was. Maybe it's the freshness, but I remember I would buy strawberries and they'd be dead and molded in my refrigerator in 3 days. You know where I was, the location, geographical location of the, United States that I was. They only had Domino's sugar, and I had never used Domino's sugar. And like the sugar, I couldn't find pet milk. And then I learned that pet milk was actually evaporated milk. I used to always call it pet milk because that's what the can said. I remember I went to Target and bought a TV. Took the bus there. Took like 40 minutes on the bus. And then I bought all my shit and I was like, how am I gonna get this on the bus? So I had to call it Uber. But then I had to unload the Uber and the Uber wouldn't wait. So I had to unload it and hurry up and go up and down the stairs hoping that no one stole my shit. Wow. Like I said, successful failures. What else, y'all? Can I tell you about New York? Really regretted not moving to Brooklyn. However, the friend that I did have at the time, she did warn me that where I grew up, we didn't have buses. We didn't have public transportation. And so learning how to do that was kind of hard, but kind of easy. I use this app called Move It. I actually use it overseas and everything, and it's really great. But that was different for me. And so she was telling me how, like, the place that I was looking at that had the big room, it was perfect, everything like that, was too far away from the train stop, from the bus stops. Like, I would be walking like 12 blocks. Where I was living was literally 3 blocks to the bus stop, maybe 2 blocks to the train, depending on which train I was going to take. So it was like literally the perfect location for me. I was just living, y'all. I really was living. I saved up to move to New York, so I was just living my life, and it was wonderful. It was like the year of yes. I had 2 years of yeses. It's therapeutic going back through it. There was always something going on with me in New York. And so I get home, I'm washing my laundry for the first time. I'm listening to music, I'm jamming. I go downstairs. The door didn't shut all the way. And I thought, be responsible, Bree. Other people live here. Shut the door all the way. That was when Bree knew she fucked up. Told me the lock was kind of messed up, but no one told me that when you shut the door now, the door would lock you out. Because I shut the door and I was locked out. No one told me that. I didn't know if that was a New York thing, but no one told me that. None of my roommates were home. It was just it was just nothing. And so no one was home. I was knocking on people's door. The maintenance guy who lived at the basement or whatever, he wasn't home. Then you think, like, you see all the TV shows that, like, the fire escape. Y'all, you know those fire escapes are locked. You can't just grab the fire escape and climb up it. Some of you are hanging from this fire escape, like swinging, like scared to fall because I don't know where my Michael Jordan height came from, but I jumped and caught onto it. And I'm asking people on the street, hey, can you give me a boost? Hey, can you give me a boost? And of course, they want to aid in someone robbing someone's house. I finally found this mother and son was asking for a boost. but he did it. And y'all, he broke into my house so easily. He even told me when he came down, hey, you need to make sure you lock your windows. Your windows were wide open. I was like, y'all, I'm happy they were open because otherwise I wouldn't be able to get into the house. But y'all, it was too easy. But that whole ordeal lasted like an hour and a half. There was a payphone. Yes, because I didn't have my cell phone. It was a payphone. And I knew nobody's number in New York by heart. So I didn't know who'd call. So the first person I called was, I feel like my mom. I was like, I don't know why I'm calling you, but I'm crying. I need something. I don't know what to do. That was a story. What else happened, y'all? I was late to work all the time. I was about to be on time for work, finally left on time, and then I realized I left my ID. I had to get off the bus, come back home. Luckily, my roommate was there. Oh, the key broke off in the lock. Yes, the key broke up in the damn lock. She couldn't get out. And again, the maintenance man. This maintenance man was like managers at work. They were never there. So she was locked in. She had to go to work that day. She couldn't get out. So I told her, well, girl, sorry for you, but can you throw my ID out the window? That'd be great. Oh, trying to get to JFK, and I'm like sitting at the stop trying to catch the E train. 20 minutes pass. That's not normal. Okay, it's not normal in New York for a train not to come within 20 minutes. And I am confused. I walk over to the other train. The conductor was there, and I was like, "Hey, is this train coming?" "Yes, baby, it's coming." Blah 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 blah. Sat there another 10 minutes, no train. Talked to a police officer. "Hey, is this train coming?" "I've been sitting here for like 30 minutes." "Yeah, yeah, it's coming." Like looking at me like I'm stupid. It's not coming. So then I'm calling my manager, and I'm like, "Hey, I've been waiting for this train for like 45 minutes. Everyone keeps insisting that it's coming. Is this normal?" Then he kind of goes off on me because he's like, "You live in New York now. You need to be able to know what's going on. Like, you need to plan for this." I left 45 minutes ago. I would have been there. So he's like, "Well, you're just going to have to go to Times Square and catch the bus up here." So going to Newark or JFK, I don't know if they have one for LaGuardia. They might have one now. If you go to Times Square, there's a bus that'll pick you up. It's like a charter bus, but it costs like $15, $20. Back in 2017, 2016, I don't know how much it costs now. Of course, it's like rush hour, so I had to wait for three buses because they kept filling up. I get on the bus, and there's like an older couple sitting in the front row. There's a lot of people who don't speak a lot of English, and the bus driver had to keep telling them, "Do not pass this line." There's like a line, y'all. There's a line in buses that you're not supposed to pass. Okay, that line is so the bus driver can have their privacy, but also so they're not distracted because they are driving a car. So people keep passing it. He's getting annoyed. He keeps telling them, "Don't pass, don't pass, don't pass." And there's people that just keep passing it. And finally, he just goes off and he just hits the brakes and tells them, "Don't pass the fucking line." But when he did that, the elderly woman hit her head on the glass that was like the glass that was like separating them. And so her husband gets upset. And he gets up and he's yelling at the bus driver. And I'm just like, "Yo, we're in a moving vehicle. Like, what's going to happen to us?" Because the old man spits on him. And so he pulls over the bus, grabs the man by the shirt, and throws him off the bus. The lady is still on the bus, and he drives off. I was like, ah. Well, then there's these other people. No other way to explain them, but they look like Jersey Shores. Let's just say that. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, "I can't believe you did that. Did you? Blah, 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 blah." Now they're fighting with the bus driver, and he slaps the bus driver in the back of the head. I'm like, I'm just trying to get to work, y'all. I'm just trying to get to work. And so then the bus driver gets off the bus. They're squabbling outside. I'm thinking I have all this recorded, by the way, so I can show my manager because my manager didn't believe me. I kept telling him all the stuff that kept happening to me in New York. He just kept saying, like, "If you don't want to come to work, just say that." I was like, "No, I'm telling you, I'm coming to work." It's work just don't, New York just don't want me, I guess. Police meet us. They're doing statements, and I'm just up in the back, so I can't get it. Y'all, it was just a whole thing. I remember I used to get discovered a lot in New York walking down the street. And you think, "Oh my gosh, Bree, yeah." No. That's why I didn't do modeling. They always wanted me to change something. "Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful, but your thighs are too big." "Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful, but your hips are too big." And you know what? They had the nerve to tell me, "You can run and get that off over 10 years, 12 years, whatever. It's not going nowhere, boo." Y'all, I ran track for 10 years. We already established that on the last one. New York, like I said, it was my choice. It was me having the nomadic spirit. It wasn't by force. But where I was living, how everything played out was definitely by force because it didn't play out by my plan, right? Staying in New York was really lonely. I'll just say that. Yes, solo traveling. Yes, different experiences. I lived a life in New York that I would never, I don't regret it at all. I've always wanted to move back to New York. But It was lonely. Like I said, I didn't have family. I didn't have friends. People I was meeting at work, they were really nice, but they didn't really live in New York. I lived in New York. They commuted. That was always hard. If they weren't working, they were chilling at home. And I wasn't invited to come and stay the night. So there was that. I was coming home a lot on the weekends for events, things like that. So I lived in New York to live a life, but then I was still living in Texas. I think Jade was just really born around that time. So I was always going to visit Carrie and them to take care of Jade. Like it was like family was in Texas, fun was in New York. So it was really lonely. I don't think that people understand that when they think about, oh, they see all these things on Instagram. They see all these things about like, oh, I quit and moved to Mexico. Oh, I quit and moved to Bali. It gets lonely because you have to build a community. You miss your family. You miss events because everyone can't afford to come home every weekend. Everyone can't afford to come home every month. Hell, if you live in Bali, Amsterdam, Europe, you probably can't afford to come home, but maybe once every 4 months. Back to what we were talking about with my last guest is that, it can get really lonely and it can be really trying building that community and building up that confidence to explore things by themselves. Like if I hadn't built up that confidence of exploring so much internationally and just having that nomadic spirit, I probably wouldn't have done anything in New York. I probably would just sit at home and been lonely watching TV. But once again, my name is Briony, like the flower peony, and I'm your professional tourist, and this is my podcast, Travel is My Lifestyle. If you did enjoy this episode, please go ahead and leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure that you share this. If you have any questions, let me know. You can also book an appointment with me on eGuide. If you haven't already, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We're Briony like Peony everywhere else. I hope you have a great day. Bye.
Stay tuned for the sneak peek of part 2. You won't want to miss it.
What I will say is New York got some weird ass people. Sorry, New York, but y'all do. Dating in New York was it was very interesting. But we're gonna do that. I think we are. Struggle bus. Take my ass home. You already annoying. Take me home and don't call me again. Bye.